For context, my female 28, husband 33, comes from a wealthy family, and he's inherited several assets from his relatives. One of them is this huge house where we live right now, with a pool and a huge backyard with many features. We decided to host our first cookout after we got married 7 months ago, and we invited both his and my family. On a Friday, both families came, and we had lots of fun. Then everyone went home later. I then get a call from my mom, and she didn't sound okay. She asked whether or not my husband took money from his family before they attended the cookout. I was confused. I asked what she was talking about, and she told me that my husband charged every single person from my side of the family who attended the event $25. I was utterly shocked and very angry and felt like this had legitimately damaged my relationship with most of my family because almost all of them came over. He got $275 from them. I was so livid. I hung up the phone and confronted him immediately. He told me my family got to enjoy the space and view and said that I should think of it as a resort cookout since this house has lots of luxuries. I told him it was a horrible thing for him to do, and that what made it worse was that his family didn't pay like mine had to do. He laughed and then reminded me that his family gave him the house. I demanded he gives the money back, but he said no, and that he won't even give it to me since the house was technically his. I went and took the money and gave everyone who paid their money back and a sincere apology for me. My husband found out and flipped out at me, calling what I did overstepping and disrespectful. I told him he shouldn't have taken money from my family for being guests at our house, but he corrected me, saying it's his house, and saying that he'd bet my family had never got to attend a cookout at a house like this, and that it was just $25. But I disrespected him and went behind his back and took money that wasn't mine. We stopped talking after this argument, and he keeps venting to his mom about me taking his money that he earned his own way. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your husband's reasoning makes no sense. Who charges people, let alone family, to come to their house and have a party? That's psychotic. Did his personality do a 180 after you got married or something? I can't wrap my head around you marrying someone who thinks so little of you and your family. Don't you realize that you are a guest in that house? That is his home, not yours. So you're married? Big deal. What is his, and what is yours is his. He keeps venting to his mom about me taking his money that he earned his way. First, this might be the only time he's ever earned any money. Second, he isn't venting to mommy. He's crying to his mommy and involving her in things that are none of her business. Again, this is just between you and him. By the way, mommy's boys never make good husbands. Hopefully, you do not have children, so the divorce should be pretty painless, and you can easily block him and go no contact. If you think this is going to get better, think again. Sorry for my English, but how often will he have to say my house for you to understand? He will never see you as his equal partner. How many times will he have to be disrespectful and condescending to your family for you to see all the red flags he waves in front of you? I'm honestly more shocked your family paid it. If I showed up and he demanded money, I'd turn the crap around. I'd like to kindly point out that he sees the money he charged for entertaining his wife's family in a house he inherited from his family as his earned money because he's letting them enjoy the house's luxuries. To me, he's always enjoying the amenities of the house he'd never get to enjoy if he wasn't born into the family who paid for it. OP, divorce him and get everything in half. Me, female 34, and my fiance, male 36, got engaged 2 months ago. I own the house we currently live in, but he started helping out with the mortgage payment after he moved in. I have a daughter, Ruby, tween. She adores animals. She's had about 7 pets so far in her life. Unfortunately, her dog Tick passed away. He was her closest friend and favorite pet. It was devastating for me as well because he was so precious. As a way to honor him, I printed a middle-sized picture of him, Ruby's favorite, and put it in a frame and hung the frame on the living room wall. Ruby was so happy with it. especially since she saw him smiling at her when she walked in. It comforted her. My fiance saw it and got upset. He commented on how strange it was to have the dog's picture up on the wall and how much of a distraction it brings. I felt puzzled because we have all kinds of pictures hanging on that wall. He suggested we remove it, but I ignored him. One day I arrived and saw that he had taken it down. Ruby was in her room crying, holding the picture. I asked what happened, and she told me that my fiance took the picture off and told her she's not allowed to have it hung up there. He also told her to keep it in her room if she doesn't want to lose it for good. I was shocked. I rushed out and immediately started taking down all the certificates he had on that wall, his doctorate, master's, and bachelor's degrees, and about 4 to 5 other certificates as well. All of them I took down and put in the bedroom. He discovered what I did, snapped at me, and says that it's his house as well, and I should respect his input. I told him since my daughter has to keep her picture in her room, he too has to keep his certificates in his room, according to his logic. He yelled at me, demanding I stop nagging him and acting childishly and spitefully. He wanted to put them back, but I refused and said that if he did that, then Tick's picture would be put back up as well. Finally, he yelled about how I disrespected him and his achievements, treated them as trash, and stormed out. He's been giving Ruby and me the cold shoulder for days now, saying he won't speak to either of us until we apologize and put those certificates on the wall ourselves. Am I the idiot? Wait, hold up. So he displayed his certificates on a common area wall in the house, so anyone walking in gets to read up on his accomplishments. And then a picture of your daughter's dog was mounted in the same area, and that galvanized him into action. Shouldn't his certificates be hung in his office? Or better yet, filed in some box in the attic? This screams ego-driven to me. That was what caught my attention. Anyone who thinks their degrees and certificates belong on the wall of a home, but not a picture of a loved pet, has a serious issue. Also, what he did wasn't input. What he did was execute a unilateral decision. So respect has to go both ways. Respect is an authority meeting deference. He took a picture of your grieving child's dog, threatened her, told you that your house is also his, yelled at you, and demanded an apology? If you marry this abusive man, you and your daughter will have a miserable life. But on the other hand, if you sweep this incident under the rug, you will be the idiot. When you have a kid, you have a huge responsibility for who you invite into your home and potentially be a part of that kid's life. Also, please know your daughter will grow up and remember that this man mattered more to you than she did, unless you show her that's not true. Sticking around in this scenario may have also had an unintended impact on her future relationships. Do you want her to land in a relationship like the one you have with your fiance? My husband, 39, and I, female, 36, and kids live a 10-plus hour drive from my side of the family. My parents, sister, brother-in-law, niece, and nephew are driving to see us and staying in an Airbnb for 7 days. I want them to stay in our house, but my husband didn't want them to. He can be moody, so to keep the peace and ensure we have a good week, I told them they couldn't stay here, so they got a place to sleep, which was close by. I thought the plan was they'd only sleep there. I was planning that everybody would come over for breakfast. We would then get ready to do some fun activity together, touristy stuff, and then return mid-afternoon, and I would cook dinner for everyone. We also have a pool so we could relax, swim, and spend time together. My husband has also had a heated argument with me for 2 days about them being at our house so much and eating here. I told him that it's only 7 days of the whole year, and that I wanted to spend the most amount of time with them. Also, we have a big enough house to be comfortable. He refuses for them to have 2 meals and to be in the house. He says I can meet them outside of the house. I told him if he treated them like that, the kids and I would go sleep over in their Airbnb. He was quite angry with me for not giving in to his request. Am I the idiot for demanding that my family drive so far to see us for a week to be able to eat and be in our home as much as they'd like? Not the idiot, because he lets his family stay with you both when they visit, but he doesn't offer the same courtesy to yours. This is a double standard on his behalf. It would be a different outcome if his family didn't stay with you and got treated the way he's trying to treat your family. I used to be married to someone that was moody, which was really just code for spoiled, only wanted his way, and would sulk in silence if he didn't get his way. Walking on eggshells to keep the peace and just giving in to his sulking is no way to live. Enjoy your time with your family and let him sulk like a pathetic toddler. What's his reasoning? I'm really wondering about this. Has he had past bad experiences with them as guests? Has he had past bad experiences with them in general? Does he have something going on with the week that they plan to visit? Was he consulted when planning what dates they were going to visit? Without any context, his reactions seem idiotish, but I imagine versions of this where I think OP was joking around. Yeah, this is a real game changer. If he doesn't get on with them, they're rude house guests. OP has a habit of blanking him when her family's around and leaving him to do all the donkey's work. OP is absolutely dodging this question and is making me suspicious. I married my wife, Leah, 3 years ago, after being in a relationship for 3 years before that. I have a son, Callum, tween. My late wife was Grace. She died when Callum was a toddler. I've always made a point of keeping her memory alive. We used to read some of the letters Grace left him for bedtime. I also played the videos she made for him for daily life and looking back on. I also tell him stories about her and us as a couple and a family with him. He has an attachment to her memory and through everything she left for him. When I met Leah, he and I talked as I was getting ready to introduce her, and he asked if she had to be his new mom. I said no, that was up to him, and their relationship could be anything he was comfortable with. He said he couldn't imagine having someone else be his mom. We discussed it more times as the relationship progressed, and I was open with Leah that she was marrying me, but she was not becoming a mom. She said she was okay with that, but she did want more kids. I agreed to that. We didn't expect for her to be infertile and unable to have a child biologically. Since then, she has been less okay with not being Callum's mom. She's told me it should be back on the table, despite me telling her Callum's feelings have not changed. So she decided to bring it up in front of her family, saying she was his mom, but not getting the love or title, that I was making her feel less loved than Grace. Her family started ganging up on me, saying they had been hearing about it for 3 years now, and how Callum deserved a mom and to be healthy enough to embrace a new mom, and that Leah deserves to be a mom and be credited for raising Callum. They said she was doing most of the parenting, which I strongly disagreed with. I'm not some guy who married to pawn his kid off on someone. I actively parent my son and do more than Leah because I disagree with dumping all the parenting on my spouse. It was the same when Grace was alive, because I want to be there for my son and because Callum comes to me more than Leah. She argued that she should be doing more as the household's mother and that I was a terrible husband. I asked her what she wanted me to do, to tell Callum that his feelings and established boundaries don't matter and he needs to cater to hers. I've been her shoulder to lean on throughout her finding out she's infertile and throughout any step-parenting struggles she's had. Still, she made me angry by handling the conversation the way she did. And I told her. She knew the deal when she married me, and I had been clear with her what her role would be and that we're not looking for Callum to have a new mom. Leah was upset. I don't think she was devastated when she found out she couldn't have biological children, and her family was angry at me. I do feel bad for snapping as I did, but I'm also mad at her for putting me in the position she did. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. And you're right. She knew the deal when you married. Unfortunately, she's infertile, but that doesn't mean she entirely gets to disregard Callum's feelings. That's no way to treat someone who she wants to mother. You're doing great. But you don't understand she wants to be a mom, and it's completely fine that she tried to use her family to manipulate and browbeat OP into getting what she wants, ignoring what his son wants because she wants to be a mother and that's all that matters. Geez. She's doubly an idiot for bringing it up in front of her family. She fully intended for them to gang up against you to try to manipulate you into giving her what she wants. Honestly, you need to rethink staying married to her, because if she's this pushy with you, you can bet that she's even pushier, though maybe more subtly, with your son, and that's not a healthy person to have him around. You are the idiot for molding your literal infant into someone who wouldn't accept anyone in his life in a motherly role. This is your own making. You practically have the kid worship his dead mother. If you had allowed him to grow like a normal child, he would have had the benefit of attachment to another human being, but you shut that down from the beginning. I would understand your wife's frustration. She comes second to your late wife while doing all the work of raising the kid. I have a tween son and a young teen stepson, and am currently pregnant with mine and my husband's first child together. My stepson and I have a very cordial relationship, but he prefers to keep me at a distance. I've always respected his boundaries. For my first sonogram appointment, my husband couldn't attend. The boys both have summer activities during the week. The plan was for me to attend the appointment alone, but at the last minute I decided I didn't want to be alone and asked my son if he wanted to go to my appointment, and he did. I picked my son up early and took him to my doctor's appointment. Afterward, we went and got ice cream and picked my stepson up from his activity at the normal time. My son excitedly showed my stepson the sonogram, but my stepson was quiet and didn't show interest. Later after dinner, my husband asked me to talk with him. We sat down and he wondered why I took my son, but not his, to my appointment. I said I wanted someone with me because it was a big moment in my life. Since he couldn't make it, I took my son, who I'm very close to, with me as emotional support. I also pointed out that his son didn't seem particularly interested. My husband said his son was really upset and spoke to him when he got home about how hurt he was that my son was invited and not him. I said I wasn't invalidating his feelings, but this was my medical appointment, and I made this decision for my comfort. I get that the kids come first 99% of the time, but I feel like my medical appointment about the pregnancy inside my body is very personal, and I should be able to do what makes me most comfortable. My husband got really quiet. Finally, he said, "I understand how you feel." Then he walked away. He didn't say anything to me this morning when he left for work, and he took my stepson with him, which is weird because usually I drop off both boys. I need an impartial take. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. Look, it's generally thought that a step-parent treats a stepchild like their own. However, as both kids are getting a new sibling, it would have been better to ask both kids if they wanted to attend the appointment. Maybe this preferential treatment is part of the problem with your relationship. You're also a major idiot for thinking of a little kid as your emotional support. Do not use your kids as emotional support. OP seems to have confused respecting boundaries and excluding. As the adults in the relationship, you need to invite them. Respecting boundaries means you accept the no. However, that doesn't mean that you stop inviting for future activities. You decided to bring your son and make a day of it, which is fair, but by doing so, you consciously excluded your stepson and let him know he's not a part of the nuclear family for you. He probably fears it'll get worse when the baby's born, and I feel your husband's now wondering the same thing. I can't help but wonder if the behavior you label as keeping you at a distance is actually either hurt or a self-defense coping strategy because he's felt excluded in the past.